Oh, hi there. So in this video, I wanted to give an update on my super frugal living, and I do live more and more and more frugally as the reality sets in of, wow, I might be involuntarily early retired and I don't have enough money for retirement and I have to come up with some side hustle, but everything that I've tried or thought of so far hasn't worked out. And I know it's sort of ridiculous to think, okay, I'm never going to make another dollar, but somehow I'm living that way now. And I've just totally reduced my expenses to a bare minimum, um, especially in areas like groceries. Now, there's a few things I still spend money on right now, and that includes wigs, even though I buy cheap ones, but I'm still trying to figure out my best look. And I've talked about that in another video. And on my bike, as I sold my car, I live just with my bike now. And like the other day, I bought a set of lights. So in the summer heat now, I might be able to go grocery shopping around sundown. Stuff like that, which feels more like an investment, just like maybe an extra ring light for this channel. So yeah, do I live like super, super frugally when it comes to groceries and eating and stuff like that? And general household supplies, absolutely. When it comes to other things, I'm still very privileged that I can go and I buy something for $50 or $100 and I know that I won't run out of money. And of course, the most privileged thing is that I'm old, and along the way in my life, I've bought a small place that is paid off, and I feel actually very guilty, almost, making videos on frugal living when there's a lot of people who have to live frugally because they have that huge expense of rent and how much housing costs have gone up. But then again, I see a lot of frugal living channels by older people, and they even say like, "Oh yeah, I live frugally, so I can buy houses and then rent them out." And I go like, "Whoa! I mean, you don't even have to live frugally if you're collecting rent from several people." And I don't have investments that make me money. I'm the worst person when it comes to investments. It's like do the opposite of everything I do, and even when I have been making good money and I maybe had the chance of buying investment property, I was like, I don't want to be a landlord. And it's partly the autistic thing, probably. Then I have to deal with people. And in a weird way, I also feel like being a landlord automatically might affect you in a way because you have to be selective in who you let into your property. And then you start judging people by their credit worthiness, how stable they are in life, by back to frugal living. Um, and something called lifestyle creep, which I've experienced in my life off and on. And I think about that a lot now that I really have to look at every dollar. And sometimes I go like, wow, I used to spend like $100 like it was nothing. And it's crazy how that is like a lesson that a lot of us learn even early. Like in my 20s, I figured out that you feel you'll be more happy the more stuff you can buy, the more you can see and travel, and the more luxurious your environment is, and the less you have to worry about how much you spend. But then you get there and you're actually not happier. I mean, it's nice to not having to worry. And on that level, I've never experienced like really being poor. But um, there's this picture that spoke to me that I framed like maybe 20 years ago of a young boy in the Nachkriegszeit Germany, like the time right after the war, and he clutches a new pair of shoes with such joy. Just getting new shoes when you desperately needed them. There's no greater joy than that. And that spoke to me because that's been my experience that if I don't have much, then getting something, even if it's like just worth $20 or $30 or buying like this little treat at the grocery store or whatever makes you so insanely happy. But then if you make more money, and as a senior software engineer, I've had stretches in life where I made really good money. Then suddenly lifestyle creep sets in, and you can only be happy with, I mean, you buy expensive stuff and they don't even make you happy. Uh, and I've experienced that, I think to a large degree, because, I mean, as an autistic person, I could always only hold a job for so long. Maybe if I had like wonderful coworker, a wonderful understanding boss, 2 years maybe, but typically the 40 hours a week routine that in software development often turns into like 50, 60 hours. I could only do max for 2 years, especially with the very few vacation days you tend to get here in America compared to Europe. But yeah, so I was making great money in stretches. And then typically what came with that is, so I was never dating when I didn't have a job, because who wants to go on an online dating site or on a date and say, yeah, first thing people ask is like, what do you do? And then when you say, oh, I'm like between jobs, or I'm like, not working for money right now, just working on my projects. It's like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to date a person like that, especially as I only look for serious relationships. So, so I never dated during those phases where I didn't work. And then when I got a great job, sooner or later I was like, I'm really desirable. I have this great job. I can go on a dating site. I can go on fun dates. So that's what I would do. And I would typically find a partner, even if it took, 2-3 months or whatever. And that's typically when I experienced lifestyle creep the most, because as soon as I started going out with somebody who had maybe expensive hobbies, maybe was a foodie, maybe liked to go to restaurants, and a lot of what neurotypical people like to do is like so expensive. And of course, a lot of autistic people also, they collect expensive stuff. And of course, a lot of men that I dated were on the spectrum. They were like, yeah, you know what? Most of the lifestyle creep that I'm thinking about now was actually with the men who were more neurotypical. And honestly, the example that's freshest in my mind, where the lifestyle creep was the highest, was that very last job that I had, where I was also traveling a lot, with a guy who, he was so materialistic. And I kind of realized that from the start, and I was really like, no, I don't really want to go out with him, but he was so insistent, and he was a very sweet guy. So I went with it, but oh my gosh, it's like I should have listened to my inner voice. Like, for example, like all my life, I thought like, I don't want to date a guy who drives an expensive sports car. Just never seemed to be my type, just period. I've never gone on a first date with somebody from a dating site. He drove up in an expensive sports car, and then I had a really good conversation. And yeah, that guy drove a Porsche, but I kind of, he said, oh, I'm only driving it for the great craftsmanship and because it's so much fun to drive. Unfortunately, it's expensive too, but yeah. And he everything had to be like upscale for him. Like he would, drive through expensive neighborhoods. We would dream of where maybe we would live together, but all the houses that pleased him, I made fun. They looked like English boarding schools, because he loved this very blocky brick facade look, very McMansionish at times. And Americans love their brick facades. I don't like these very generic, fake-looking brick facades, but so that guy was like super concerned about how other people saw him. Was through that, I guess, very materialistic, and then like all the stuff. Like, I know fanny packs don't look good. They help me with my executive function problems where, that's one thing I don't have to worry about. You can't leave a fanny pack accidentally behind like you do with a purse. You don't accidentally spill it out because you sit down the purse and then maybe topples over and some stuff falls out. But yeah, I quickly realized, fanny packs don't look good. Just jeans, t-shirt doesn't cut it with the sky. I bought like dresses and this fancy purse, and I hated that purse. I could never find inside what I wanted, and the dresses, like then he like would take me like to wine tastings in the mountains, and I would like freeze my ass off in the mountains in these short dresses. And yeah, if you drive into the mountains, you want to wear boots that you can hike in, and nice solid jeans that if you want to sit down on a rock or whatever you can. And yeah, so basically that was my life, just feels like 2.5 years ago or whatever. And now I live so frugally that I go to the grocery store and go like, you know, do I buy the, you know, $3 chicken, raw chicken, or the $3.50 or $4? And you can save a ton by, picking and choosing what you buy. And in that regard, first of all, it's really nice now that I bicycle everywhere and I sold my car. It's almost like my body knows it needs better food to sustain my lifestyle, because like when I first sold my car, I still used my bike like to roll up at McDonald's and buy like these cheap meals using the app. Now I don't even want to go to McDonald's anymore. And I see that, especially with Gen Z, when they make videos about where they save money on food and stuff, they sometimes still mention, oh yeah, go to McDonald's because if you use the app, you can get a very filling meal for $6 or $7. But that's just such crap food. And it's actually for $7, you can get a ton of food still if you go to a no-name grocery store. And that's the other thing that I changed. I'm just hardly going to these grocery stores that advertise on TV, because even after all the coupons, after the specials and stuff like that, you're paying so much more. And if I go here to my no-name grocery store in a rundown strip mall, I pay so little. Now the people at the checkout even know me there, and it's actually kind of nice. And even though there's much less selection, there's like some interesting stuff for the Hispanic population mostly. And I'm just blown away by how much food I get there for even $20 versus going to Kroger and Publix. Point is, I have to live really frugal now, and in a weird way, I really enjoy it. I mean, there's that. It's proven in psychology that if you have less choice, you're actually happier, and if you, have to save money, you suddenly have so much less choice. And that starts with not having a car. I used to, if I wanted to go to a park on Saturday, I could choose between the 12 parks around town, and now I only have like 1 or 2 parks maybe that I could bicycle to. But really, I need certain things from the grocery store, so it's already pretty clear that where I have to bicycle, what I'm going to do, and there's something really nice about it. Same with food. I have less choice in what I can buy now. Like if I'm craving something sweet, I don't have this unlimited choice of, expensive Swiss chocolates and, expensive desserts that I maybe would have bought before. And, instead, maybe it's always like a Snickers bar or something. And by the way, Snickers bars is one of the things where I've found most that if you go to Kroger or Publix, they're now like way over $1 a piece sometimes, even when you buy them in a package of multiple. But if you go to a cheap grocery store, they're like really cheap. And I think it's products like that where people crave it, and the Mars Corporation, whatever, knows that in the expensive grocery stores, they. Or maybe it's the stores themselves that know, yeah, we can charge a lot for that and people will still buy it. In the cheap no-name stores where the poor people go, they go like, okay, we can still sell a ton of Snickers, but they have to be cheap. So that's where I save a ton of money too. And with meat too, I find if I buy very cheap meat at, let's say, Food Lion, it's often so tough, it's almost not edible. But if I buy it like at my no-name grocery store, and I buy these, I don't know if that's a Hispanic thing or whatever, these 1 millimeter thick steaks, and I cook them up and they actually taste pretty good. Not as good as a perfectly marbled, nice 1/2 inch or inch thick steak, but you know, once you've eaten, you don't really care that much about what you've eaten as long as you feel satisfied. So one thing I've sort of given up for the most part is ghee. And in my video on saving money on groceries like a few months ago, I was still talking about how I was using a lot of ghee, but I was really going through those clarified butter containers like at a rapid pace, and they cost like $11-12. And an amazing thing is, it feels like with my healthier lifestyle, I also get less of your stomach problems. So it seems like I can tolerate anything milk related better, especially if I eat like dairy intolerance pills with it. So I've been granting myself more things that contain dairy, maybe real butter and other things, and it suddenly works for me, which is wonderful, because I had to like almost completely cut out dairy for the longest time. Heck, I even like the other day, I was like, my body was absolutely craving cheese, and I was walking past the shelf that had like Münster cheese, and like, I'm just absolutely craving it so much. And then I ate the cheese, and I did not have the disaster symptoms that I would usually have, and I did not get the arm itching immediately like 2 hours afterwards. So that is really exciting. But yeah, other advantages, I've really been eating my way through the freezer and my pantry. And especially since the pandemic, I got into this mode of like always buying extra and keeping it around, and then I would never eat it or go back, because I would always just eat what I bought most recently. And now I've actually been going through my freezer and pantry and either eating stuff or realizing I had to throw it out. And that hurts, because apparently, I mean, everything from crackers to chips to, nuts, all kinds of stuff that you buy and you feel like, okay, I don't have to worry about that for a few months. But a lot of that stuff gets so stale and I had to throw it out. But now my freezer looks nice. I have space. Pantry looks much nicer. It also, I mean, it helps with this minimalist living, or the, clean up your room, Jordan Peterson stuff, where, it just looks more organized. I don't have as much crap around that I really don't want to eat. And I have those stretches where I run out of stuff that I bought at the grocery store, and I really have to dig into, okay, what's some of this older stuff that I can turn into something edible, and yeah, that feels really good. Same with things like shower gel, or even shampoo. I mean, my natural hair is very short, but I still use shampoo. And it's crazy how much, nice shower gels and shampoos I bought, over the years, and they're like in the back of my linen closet, and now I pull it out, and I'm like, again, it comes back to that picture of the boy with the shoes. I'm like, wow, I forgot I had this great shampoo. I forgot I had this nice smelling shower gel. And it's so pleasant to use. And eventually I'll probably switch to bar soap or whatever. But right now I still discover all these things that I bought in the past, didn't really care. And now I see them, I use them and appreciate them, and thank my previous former self for buying them. And for that reason alone, maybe even if you don't have to do it, if you set yourself the challenge that your credit card bill can't surpass amount X, and maybe you even cancel Amazon Prime and stuff like that, and you go like, okay, I'm just going to use what I have around the house. It's amazing to me, at least, how often, when you set that restraint, you have less choice. You figure it out. You find something that works. But yeah, that's my update on my super frugal living experience. And there's some other stuff I wanted to get into, but this is already getting kind of long, and might as well save some rants for the next video on the topic. So I'll wrap it up here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.